Good morning, USDA. For those of you who don't know, I am Karl Elmshaeuser. I am the Rural Utilities Service Administrator, and I can't be more honored to have this great group with us today and to have all of you share with us the celebration of the 90th anniversary of the Rural Electrification Act. As part of this, before we get started, we have a brief video just to give a little bit of history about the Rural Electrification Act.
Early 1940, spreading their wires over 45 states. Well over 500,000 farms, schools, churches, stores, and rural industrial plants getting electric service for the first time. 300,000 more expected to come on these lines, and new lines going up almost everywhere at the rate of 500 miles a day.
Having the support of USDA through the Rural Utilities Service and access to low-interest capital is critical for co-ops to continue to deliver on their promise of safe, reliable, and affordable power.
The Rural Utilities Service has been perhaps our most important partner throughout Associated's 61 years. They are our lender of choice because they really help us fulfill that mission of affordability to our members.
The Rural Electrification Act was vitally important to rural Missouri. It was vitally important to the formation of Show Me Power, and even today, the fact that Show Me Power can utilize the funding through USDA ensures that the member at the end of the line has as low of an electric rate as possible.
These communities and the cooperative way of just serving each other, especially when people tell you can't do it, rural folks have a way of rising up and meeting that challenge because we control it and we generate it and we deliver it.
It gives me great pleasure to introduce our next speaker. Secretary Brooke Rollins leads the U.S. Department of Agriculture, championing policies that strengthen rural communities, support farmers and ranchers, and expand economic opportunity across America. She has long been an advocate for rural prosperity and innovation in agriculture. Please help me in welcoming the Secretary of Agriculture.
Oh my goodness. Thank y'all. Please sit. Thank you. I don't want to take too much time, and you've got an amazing slate that you're going to hear from today. I'm so overwhelmed and grateful and inspired by the work that you all do every day. And I remember I took this job and slightly unexpectedly, some of you may have heard, I often say that sometimes God and President Trump have a different path in mind for you than you have for yourself. But the last year and a half has been such an extraordinary gift and such a blessing in so many ways. This is the best job I will ever have. It's likely the hardest job I will ever have, as American rural communities and our farmers and ranchers are facing some pretty significant headwinds that at the end of the day, if we don't solve, I do believe we'll lose our country. And so every day, I and our incredible team, our amazing Deputy Secretary, the leadership that you see on the stage today, and what we all get to do every day in serving rural America is just the greatest blessing. But when I think about what's at the foundation of that service and what that servant leadership looks like, and what, frankly, what Scripture talks to us and calls us to meet our moment, to serve others and to serve our country and to fight for freedom every day. I think about you sitting in this room, and I think about what you represent, and I think about the 90 years of service to whom I believe are the greatest Americans, and that's our farmers and ranchers and those who thrive and survive out in rural America. And as a little girl in a really small town, raised by a single mom on the plains of Texas, to think about what you all and this organization do to build that, to ensure that the 42 million Americans who are relying on what we do here at this agency and on behalf of all Americans, but certainly those in rural America. I'm overwhelmed and I'm grateful, and I pray every day and I'm thankful every day for the work that you all do. And know that while it may not be the most high profile or the snazziest of everything we do at USDA, the fanciest, that really it is what you have done and what you have built and the leadership that you have provided that has allowed this country to thrive, certainly for the last 90 years, but in the best way, the last 250 years. And as we move we've been celebrating 250 for almost a year now, but we're about to move into the real celebration. The Great American State Fair will be out on the National Mall. We're managing that, obviously bringing all the states together and elevating and honoring all the states. Would love for all of you to be part of that, to celebrate. But the idea of America and our founding fathers' vision and building a place where we can govern ourselves, where we're not governed by an elitist, faraway dictator or monarch like all of world history would show and was until 250 years ago, until July 4th of 1776. What you all represent, what you all build, and what our forebears built before you through this department and in electrifying and bringing power to our most rural parts of our country. That is the best of us, and that is what will keep America strong and the American dream available for all moving forward for the next 250 and hopefully many more years after that. So I just wanted to pop in. I actually wasn't supposed to be here today. I was supposed to be at Camp David, but the weather kept us away. But when I found out that I, in fact, was going to be here last minute, I wanted to just pop by and just from the bottom of my heart, Karl, to you, to Jim, to everybody, to just say thank you and keep up the incredible work. I am here to serve you and to serve all of America, and it continues to be my greatest honor to do so. God bless you all, and thank you, and keep up the wonderful work. Happy birthday. Happy birthday. Thank you. Thank you.
It truly is a privilege to work at USDA and to work under Secretary Rollins. Our next speaker is Deputy Secretary Vaden, who works alongside Secretary Rollins and leads the department's operations and implements policies that support America's food and farm system. A Tennessee native with deep agricultural roots, he previously served as USDA General Counsel and as judge on the U.S. Court of International Trade. Deputy Secretary Vaden is committed to revitalizing rural America and ensuring an abundant, affordable, and safe U.S. food supply. I also had the privilege under the Trump 1 administration to work with Secretary Vaden, and we've had some very things that he has said that has stuck in my mind from the very first time. So please help me in welcoming a very knowledgeable man who can give us some guidance. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Karl, and thank you for putting this event together. It is truly an honor to be here on the 90th anniversary of the Rural Electrification Act. We are sitting here on the National Mall in a building that isn't too much more than 90 years old itself. So its date goes back to the foundation of what created the then Rural Electric Administration, now the Rural Utility Service. And electricity is something that we have come to take for granted. But at the time the act was passed, less than 10% of the farms in this country had electric power. Indeed, if you go down and look at the USDA Museum, which I encourage you all to do if you have the time during your day, you will see that after the department was created, as this department sought to go out into the rural portions of the country and to spread the good news of modern farming practices and other advancements in the agricultural sciences, among the things that the USDA employees had to carry with them were portable generators, because all of the places that they were going had no electric power. And so if they were going to display a movie or have any type of exhibition, or if they needed lighting, they had to bring the power with them. Thanks to the Rural Electrification Act, those things are long since consigned to the past. And it was the electrification of rural America which allowed us to truly stitch our country together, the same way the highways would later come to do when the interstate system was created in the 50s, so that no matter where you went across our country, from the largest cities to the most rural of locations, there were certain basic standards that applied to every American. And it was indeed our quick adoption of electric power throughout rural America that helped to create the innovation and the great economic growth that our country experienced throughout the entirety of the 20th century. It's something that is personal to me, and I mentioned the museum. I had a little time on my hands one Friday afternoon recently, and I was going through there, and among the things that Wayne had on display that caught my attention, indeed before I knew I would be speaking for you today, was a map that was created by the Rural Electric Administration. It's dated the 31st of December, 1952, and it depicts my home state of Tennessee. I don't know how many of you can see this, but the darker colors on this map indicate areas where the Rural Electric Administration either had given a loan previously that allowed for the electrification of the countryside, or was currently at work on a project doing the same at the conclusion of 1952. And if you look up here on this map in the upper right-hand corner where there's all this black indicating a whole lot of government money went into electrifying the countryside, that's my home county of Obion County, Tennessee. So I have quite a personal connection to the work of the REA. And in thinking about this, your work continues today, because it started with electricity, telephones were added to that, then water, and most recently, broadband. So while the technologies may have changed, the goal of seeing to it that wherever in rural America one is, you have the basics that are necessary for modern life continues. And again, I have a personal element in that story. In 2020, you may remember, we were doing Reconnect. It was a brand new program. It was intended to deliver rural broadband into areas where it had not been previously. In March of 2020, my own home in Obion County, Tennessee, was hooked up to broadband for the first time. You may recall that something else happened in March of 2020 that required broadband to be needed worldwide, and we all became familiar with things like Microsoft Teams and Zoom and what have you, thanks to COVID. But it was literally because of the programs at USDA and how my own local electric service was able to use them that come the COVID pandemic, when we were all told for a while to go home and shelter in place, I was able to continue the work as general counsel of this department, thanks in part to the effort of the Rural Utilities Service. So it is quite an honor for me to be with you today and to thank you for all the important work that you do, and know that even though it may not be on the front page, it may not be always seen, as the Secretary said, as the sexiest work, the most necessary work rarely is, and we are thankful for it and all that you have done over the past 9 decades. Thank you very much.
Today we celebrate a milestone of 90 years of the Rural Electrification Act that completely transformed the daily life of America. Secretary Rollins always reminds us that we are here to serve our farmers and ranchers. At the 50th anniversary of the REA, the National Rural Electric Cooperative Association published this book. It's entitled The Next Greatest Thing. But the title is only part of the total quote. It comes from a farmer in a rural Tennessee church. In the early 1940s, it highlights the transformative impact of the REA on farming life, which was extremely difficult before electric power. It was often used to illustrate that electricity was considered a modern necessity for rural communities. The full quote is this: "Brothers and sisters, I want to tell you this. The greatest thing on earth is to have the love of God in your heart, and the next greatest thing is to have electricity in your house." That simple but transformative idea took place that produced one of the greatest achievements in American history. My father was born in 1934 on a family farm in western Nebraska. When the REA was passed in 1936, only 10% of rural farms were electrified. By the 1950s, more than 90% of U.S. farms had electricity. Our family farm did not have electricity until 1952, when my father was a senior in high school. It wasn't because power wasn't available. The REA power line went right by the driveway to the farm. It was because my great-grandfather was not an early adopter and waited until he could no longer use the outhouse and they needed an electric pump for an indoor restroom. Today, 99% of farms have electricity. Sometimes we forget how far we've come in a short period of time. So what is rural and why does it matter? For me, rural isn't a place, it's the people. People who are resourceful, resilient, and reliant on one another. The very idea of a co-op. Many of those co-ops started to fill the gap in providing electricity to America. At USDA Rural Development, we live it every day in our mission to serve others. Our three main mission areas at RUS are electric, telecommunication, and water programs that provide the community development tools for the economic development activities to follow. We continue to see new challenges as we enter the age of AI and data centers, telecommunications, and space-based platforms, and with an ever-increasing need for water. Now, this is the part where I get a little bit off script, and it makes Joe Gilson, the Chief of Staff for RD, a little bit nervous. But Mr. Deputy Secretary, if you would, please, if I could have you stand about right here, if you would, please. I'm just going to have you stand here and face the audience. Now, I recently went to the store and I bought a box of light bulbs. And, oh, yeah, they're still in here. That's good. If you would, sir, if you just hold these with your two fingers like this. There you go. And my only request is don't drop it. But I need another volunteer. Come on, Catherine. Come on up here. Hey, Catherine. Catherine, if you'd stand right here. And what I asked Catherine now, Catherine knew that she was going to have to come up here today, but she didn't know what I was going to ask her to do. And so she's kind of nervous. The secretary's like, yeah, deputy secretary's like, sure, what do you want to do? So Catherine, what I want you to do is I want you to think about the ability to light that bulb. Just concentrate on it, see it, visualize in your mind, have that idea in your head. Great, you've got that idea? You sure? You locked in?
Yeah, it's locked in.
Right, so now I'm going to take that idea that you have right here, and we're going to light the bulb. We have electrified America. In my father's lifetime, my father, we provide electricity to all of America on the power of an idea. And you're the future, all of you. It's your ideas that are going to create the next power for America. So you need to put those ideas to work, keep them in mind, and work on them. In the meantime, we probably should take Catherine's back and give it back to her. Thank you. Thank you for a round of applause for our volunteers. I know it's something a little bit different, but part of that is sometimes we need to visualize what it takes and how long it takes for an idea to come to fruition. And having the ability, the faith, and the hope, and the courage to work with other people around us to find a way to make things happen. When you think of how fast that we have put this across America, it was an incredible effort across America to get that done. I am thankful that President Trump has given me the opportunity to serve this administration and the American people. You are the stewards for the communities and organizations you represent. You are the next generation to lead America. Put your ideas into action, and let's work together to build the next greatest thing for the next 90 years. Thank you for your dedication and service. Our next speaker will be Assistant Administrator Chris McLean, and he spent decades advancing rural infrastructure at USDA. He was a former RUS administrator and now oversees the electric program's $60 billion portfolio. His leadership has supported billions in annual investments that strengthen the rural electric grid. The other thing I can tell you about Chris McLean is that he is a mentor. He is a civil servant. People have actually called him a national treasure. This gentleman, it is an honor to be able to work with him. And please help me in welcoming Chris McLean.
Thank you, Karl. Thank you for that piece of magic. Thank you for those very kind words. I've also been called aging infrastructure, too. So, but on the theme of magic, the magic of the Rural Electrification Act is that it puts a basic mathematical principle to work. That is, when a negative number is multiplied by a negative number, you get a positive result. So President Roosevelt, a Democrat, and Nebraska Senator George Norris, a Republican, saw the conditions of rural America and the lack of electricity as one of the negatives, on top of the nation's desperate need for job creation during the Great Depression. And they saw that rural electrification was the way to take those two negatives and turn them into a positive. Investment in rural electric infrastructure not only dramatically improves the quality of rural life, it creates jobs throughout the national economy and empowers America's farmers and ranchers to feed the world. And the magic continues today. Once infrastructure is created, it must be nurtured, maintained, and improved over time. Technological advancement does not stand still. Investment in rural utility infrastructure, whether it be electric, telecommunications, or water, is as important to rural life and the national economy today as it ever was. I dare say that few federal programs have been as successful as the Rural Electrification Act. Behind that success lies the hard work of our wonderful utility partners who connect rural America to the modern age, and the good people who work and have worked at the Rural Utility Service and the Rural Electrification Administration. Think about it. We have borrowers that have been with us since the 1930s. Great service providers like Rappahannock Electric in Virginia, or the Heart of Texas got their first loans in 1936 and remain active borrowers today. And just for the record, no, I was not there when they had those first loans. I promise you. But today we not only celebrate our history, we also celebrate our bright and shining future. On this 90th anniversary, right now, we are working on new first-time program borrowers like the 1803 Cooperative in Louisiana and 7 states in Tennessee, And whether new or old, we are extremely grateful to our utility partners for their confidence in our agency and their dedication to their communities. Now let me especially pay tribute to all the employees of the Rural Utility Service and its predecessor, the Rural Electrification Administration. I consider myself to be one of the luckiest people in America because I have a job I love, I get to work with wonderful utility partners, and most importantly, I get to work with the world's greatest public servants. To a person, in each of our programs, electric, telecommunications, water, and environment, Team RUS is dedicated, conscientious, and passionate about our work. Our colleagues put in long hours, work multiple jobs, give their talents to the American people, and focus on customer service because we are all mission-driven. We know that our work keeps rural rates affordable, facilitates increased productivity, and helps make rural America the wonderful place that it is. I also salute our leadership. We have been so fortunate to have an extraordinary succession of administrators, deputy administrators, chiefs of staff, senior advisors, as well as undersecretaries, secretaries, and deputy secretaries, as well as political appointees who keep the vision of the Rural Electrification Act alive from administration to administration. It is said that political appointees are the sprinters and career employees are the marathoners. Importantly, we are all on the same team. And every career RUS employee remembers who was administrator when they were first hired. For me, it was Wally Byer of North Dakota. Now, maybe it was because of the quality of my work, but Wally quickly taught me the meaning of the phrase, oofta. So those of you who are not familiar with North Dakotan language, that's kind of an expression of dismay. But my wish for you, Mr. Administrator, is that before too long, you will have some new career hires who will remember you as their first administrator and learn about your big heart that you bring from America's heartland. In short, the Rural Utility Service is a wonderful place to work because of the wonderful people we get to work with. To all my colleagues at the Rural Utility Service, to the RUS and REA alumni, to our friends at the Office of General Counsel, to the accountants, to all the rural development support staff, to our utility partners and co-lenders, I say thank you for all that you do, and congratulations on 90 wonderful years.
Our final speaker today is Jim Matheson. He's the Chief Executive Officer of the National Rural Electric Cooperative Association, NRECA. I've learned to do that acronym a little bit faster now these days. The national service organization that represents the nation's more than 900 not-for-profit consumer-owned electric cooperatives. NRECA members provide service to 42 million people in 48 states. Jim joined NRECA in July of 2016 following a distinguished career in both the public and private sectors. Please help me in welcoming Jim to the stage.
Well, thank you for that introduction, and thank you for the opportunity of being here. It is wholly appropriate that we take a moment to celebrate the 90th anniversary of the passage of the Rural Electrification Act. What a tremendous and rich legacy that this act has created. And the word that comes to mind for me is one of partnership. Now, the partnership today is with the Rural Utility Service and electric cooperatives, but back when the act was passed, the electric cooperatives did not exist at that point. And the Rural Electrification Act happened, and it provided this opportunity to help create financing opportunities to electrify rural America. And in spite of that, the for-profit utility said, no, it isn't worth it. Sparse population, not worth our time. And so what happened is the people in rural America came together. They each put in $5, and this is back during the Depression, so $5 meant something. And they formed their own electric cooperative, owned by the consumers that they serve, governed by the consumers they serve. That model has stood the test of time ever since in terms of providing affordable, reliable power, but it stood the test of time because of the critical, incredible partnership we've had with what was then the Rural Electrification Administration, now the Rural Utility Service. It's a great story. It's one we should always celebrate because I would argue, and Chris said few programs have been more successful. I'm here to tell you I think this is the most successful federal program when you look at a program that invested in economic opportunity and quality of life for people in America. What a fantastic infrastructure financing mechanism that has made money for the federal government because electric cooperatives pay back their loans. What a great success. And so it's wholly appropriate that we celebrate that today, but it's not just about looking backward at that success over time. It's where we are today and where we're going forward. And that partnership that I mentioned is just as important or even more important today than it's ever been because these investments in rural America still matter. They're still critical in terms of promoting economic opportunity and quality of life for people in rural America. What impresses me is how electric cooperatives and the Rural Utility Service have adapted over these 90 years. You know, back in the 1930s, technology was what it was. There was no electrification in the countryside, and the mission was clear what had to happen. But as the country has become more electrified, as technology's involved, as demands for electricity and our economic opportunity change, the Rural Utility Service and electric cooperatives have adapted to that change because the focus is on the mission to serve our consumers at the end of the line. It's such a special relationship we have with the Rural Utility Service because we share that mission orientation. You know, if you read in the press where young graduates coming out of school are looking where they want to work, one of the highest criteria they look for is they want to look for a place where there's a mission component to what they do. Well, I'm here to tell you, it doesn't get better than this. And I can speak for every employee at our association and all of our membership across the country. And Karl, I suspect you can say the same for all the employees at RUS, that we feel the passion for serving others. It's the true essence of servant leadership. So let's celebrate these 90 years, but let's also celebrate the fact that we are incredibly well positioned to continue this meaningful work for the future. Thanks for the opportunity to be here.
Just a few closing remarks. I'm so thankful for our guests to come today and speak. Appreciate your time out of the schedule. For everyone who's joined us online, taking time out of your day. For those of us that came to visit in person. So some of the things that you've heard today too, I can sum up in something that happened to me last night. But first of all, I want to make sure and thank all the people that put this event together. It's one thing to come to this great facility and stand out there and watch an event like this. It's another when you get to see all the teamwork and all the components of all the different people that put this thing together. There's a lot of work and effort and time that put into this. And so thank you to all of you that contributed to this. The thing I'll leave you with is last night, I was getting on the elevator about 7:30 as I was leaving, and a lady who I wish I could remember her name, she's getting on the elevator too. She's got her backpack, and I said, "So, are you ready to call it a day?" She goes, "Well, I kind of got my computer and my laptop in my bag. I still want to get a few things done." So we step into the elevator and said, "Well," she goes, "I want to get them done by Thursday because I retire on Thursday." I said, "Well, how long have you worked for USDA?" She said, 38 years. 38 years, and on Tuesday night at 7:30, she's getting in the elevator with her laptop and bag because she still wanted to get a couple more things done for the people she serves. Those are the kind of dedicated professionals you have at USDA, which are the same people that we are serving every day in America. So thank you all for joining us for the celebration. Please, for those of you who are here, there's a cake and coffee afterwards, and feel free to have some continued discussion as we celebrate this and hopefully the next 90 years as well. Thank you.